You know, the title says it best down there. And basically the title is asking a question, and that is, what is some fans' problems with the Mighty Ducks cartoon series? You might wonder why I'm asking this. Well, I'm not going to lie, you've probably seen my videos and stuff. I'm a fan of the Mighty Ducks show. As a matter of fact, I dedicated an entire 15 episodes to one DVD back in 2003. And this thing still plays. Shows how much this thing still works. Except in a portable DVD player, which should work, but it isn't working. But still, well, it does work, but you get the idea. Anyway, I've had this for going on 11 years now. Going on 11 years this July. Hard to believe. But before that, I even dedicated a VHS tape to the Mighty Ducks. You see, I like the Mighty Ducks. I'm one of those out there that actually likes the series, like what they did with the series. Now, I can understand there are some that don't. As a matter of fact, when I watched Doug Walker's Nostalgia Critic review along with Tamron and Malcolm a few weeks ago, when he did his when they did the 45-minute review in retrospective of the Disney Afternoon, one of the shows he said that kind of helped in the decline of Disney Afternoon was Mighty Ducks. Now, he said the few good things coming out of it was the voice actors. Some of the voice actors that they got, like Tim Curry and the late Tony Jay. So, even though he particularly looked at Mighty Ducks as being one of the reasons the Disney Afternoon was declining, a few years before he did this review with Malcolm and Tamron, fellow internet reviewers Huey Toonmore, real name is Logan, and Rowdy Reviewer, whose real name is Chris, did a co-review of the Mighty Ducks, and both actually agreed that it was good. It was one of those, as they call it, and I think anybody might agree, hidden treasures that Disney gave us during the Disney Afternoon run, even in the final years. You know, and to me, I don't think true words could be spoken. I mean, you take a look at what Mighty Ducks did. Mighty Ducks basically did something that was a little bit more different than any other series based on sports. It wasn't like Pro Stars, no. It basically took a concept that had been done in the movies that inspired an NHL team, a real-life NHL team of the same name. They basically took those concepts, combined them into an original show. And what do I mean by combine them? Well, they took the hockey aspect of it, basically, and combined it into a show that was, well, not very similar, but was based around those, basically based around the Mighty Ducks franchise, but also came about because of what had came before it. The movies and the actual NHL team, which today is just known as the Anaheim Ducks. But still, this show came about because of that. And it was great. It was terrific. I don't think anybody could deny that. I don't think anybody could deny how great this show was. And this show was hyped up in such a big way. Now, I know there's some people who don't like it, or even do like it, on both sides. Those that like it and don't like it will agree that perhaps, and I look at it this way because I'm one of those that like it, will agree that the reason this show was made was not just to build upon the Mighty Duck franchise, which of course was, you know, founded on the actual movies and then thus became real life with the NHL team, but also was trying to build on the momentum that a previous Disney action-adventure series with sort of a superhero dark tone, if you will, had before them. And of course, I'm talking about Gargoyles. Now, Gargoyles, of course, was a little bit more darker than Mighty Ducks, but not saying Mighty Ducks didn't have their dark moments. They did. You take a look at the pilot episode, you had a death, if you will, or sacrifice, death, whatever you want to call it, at, in the first, towards the end of the first episode, towards the end of the first part of the pilot. So it shows you how much Disney, it shows you the momentum Disney wanted to build off with Gargoyles, with Mighty Ducks. Because you could tell that even though some might say, well, it was inspired by Ninja Turtles. Yeah, when you take a look at the the other Ninja Turtle inspirations at that time, folks. Take a look at the other Ninja Turtle inspirations at that time. Biker Mice from Mars, Road Rovers, SWAT Cats, Street Sharks, Extreme Dinosaurs, Wild West Cowboys of Moon Mesa, you name it. Those were your inspirations there too. But, were they that bad? But, did anybody say, oh, it's just a ripoff of Ninja Turtles? Yeah, some did, but they never really said anything else because they started seeing the shows become more as their own entities, in a sense. So, it wasn't entirely, as some people might say, a ripoff of Ninja Turtles, but more along the lines of those shows started to get into becoming their own entities as well as Mighty Ducks. The biggest difference, though, between all those shows that were inspired by the Ninja Turtle success was that Mighty Ducks combined two things. It combined the action-adventure and the dark tones at times that Ninja Turtles and then later Gargoyles had, but it also combined the fact of the sort of the dual identity deal. I mean, even though people knew who these characters were outside of crime fighting and hockey, it was sort of still a dual identity thing, because it's almost like it was day and night. It's like during the day they're a hockey team, during the night they're a crime fighting team, or during the night they're hockey, during the day they're crime fighting. It's kind of like I say, day and night. So to me, it's not. So to me, that was the one element they did, because all the other times, people pretty much knew who the characters were. There was no dual identity for them. There was no dual identity for the Gargoyles, except for them being stoned during the day and alive at night. That's it. That's it. There was no that's just a. There was no real dual identity. They weren't out and about during the day, except for maybe certain episodes, like the arc, the post-Avalon arc, if you will, getting back to Manhattan in that one episode, but that's it. There was no real, chance for them to really walk about during the day. Unless, of course, they were Demona, and then that's another story. Mighty Ducks had that day and night kind of thing, had that dual identity thing, that even though people knew who they were, it was still a dual identity. Because they could be walking about, just be casual and all that, people know who they are, know they're a hockey franchise, blah, 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 whatever. They could live a normal life, even after the show ended. So, to me, that was the one aspect that they were able to really capitalize on, was the fact that they were a crime-fighting team that people knew of, but they also knew them as a hockey team, and it's probably just your, now average citizens in the city of Anaheim that you could just bump into, maybe get a picture taken and just have a casual talk with, maybe at a comic shop, of all places. Excuse me. A comic shop of all places. Now, with that said, why does this show have sort of a mixed reaction, sort of a mixed fan base? Well, because one, again, some people felt that it wasn't being true to basically, first of all, some people felt it was nothing more than a rip-off of Ninja Turtles, just building off the Ninja Turtle success. And some that didn't like it also felt the same way about them just building off the Gargoyles success. Okay, fine. That they have their opinion to that. But also there are some that felt it wasn't being true to maybe the Mighty Duck movies and even the actual NHL franchise. It wasn't being true to it. It wasn't really based off anything there. It's like you didn't really have any human hockey players. And some, of course, probably found the premise of the show ridiculous. Like, how can anybody accept a team, how can any hockey team with just 6 players, even if they're alien anamorphic ducks, be able to get into something like the NHL without a full roster? How could they do that? I don't know. They just do, right? Well, to me, well, they just do, right? Well, to me, I don't think the premise is that ridiculous. I mean, unless they were going to do another season and they were going to add more alien ducks coming down and being part of the team, then that's a different story. And that's a different story entirely because, you would have a full-fledged team sort of being inspired by what you see in real-life hockey. But the point is, just those little tidbits, those little, nitpicks is why some people found the show ridiculous and just didn't like it because of those nitpicks. The fact that 6 players on a hockey team, don't they ever get tired kind of deal? Don't they need a break? As far as I recall, in regular season play, a majority of the time, unless you have maybe 2 of the same player, as much as I recall, in any regular season game of any sports, unless a player is injured, or unless a team is routing the other team into oblivion, for most of the quarters, or periods, or even innings, you have the same players on the field, or on the ice, or on the court. And like I said, unless there's a rout going on, unless there's an injury, or unless a player needs to be rested for a little bit, a majority of the time you have the same players out there on the court, on the ice, on the diamond, on the football field, you name it. So that's probably why that's probably why the premise was a little ridiculous to them, is because it's like you didn't see another duck come in and say, hey, I'll take your place, Tanya, or I'll take your place, Mallory, or I'll take your place, Nosedive, sit down and rest. No. It was just basically the same team over and over. That's it. So, no substitutes, no nothing. So, again, point is though, despite these little nitpicks, I mean, even things like the weapons were nitpicked at. You had people that didn't like the series nitpicking at it. Hello, they kind of were innovative with those because sometimes the pucks could turn into, grappling hooks. They could, when they're fired, sometimes they could turn into bolo whips, bolo ties to tie up the opponent or tie up the enemy. Sometimes they could be made into explosives. I mean, hello. There was innovation there. They even took what a lot of people would consider their version of the Turtle Van, the Migrator, and they gave it another version. They gave it battle mode. Now some people might say, well, the Turtles had that too. Yeah, not really much. All you had was a side door. No offense, I like the Ninja Turtles too. But all you had was like a side door for the Ninja Turtles for someone like Raphael to sit and shoot at, and then you had somebody up there on top shooting too, and that's it. You didn't have anything else. You didn't have it really transform into something different. But overall, these are just things that they find ridiculous and being reasons why not to like the show. Finding those nitpick reasons not to like the show is ridiculous, because I looked at it as being, hey, it's just being an entertaining kind of like a popcorn-like show. It's like you sit down with a bowl of popcorn at the movies, and it's a popcorn-like movie, even if it's 30 minutes. But Disney got behind this. They knew that even if it was going to run for one season, it was going to get a fan base. You know how much they got behind this? They took the first 2 episodes, the first face-off, part 1 and 2, the 1-hour miniseries, the 44-minute 1-hour miniseries, and combined it with the episode Duck Hard, and thus you had Mighty Ducks the movie, the first face-off. It's like, what else can you say? What else can you say about it? And then if you really want to have like a sequel to the first face-off, even if it's 30 minutes, you had the finale. You had the final face-off, if you will. And that itself was good. The one constant about this is it did have a continuous plot. It did. Whether you like it or not, it had a continuous plot. And that continuous plot was the fact that they had to stop Dragonis from trying to repower his airship, the Raptor. And they even had to stop him when he would power up or create these new weapons, these new ships. All in a quest to conquer the world, and like he did the home world, Puck World. So, to me, as ridiculous as it may sound to some people, I still found it entertaining. I found it to be that popcorn-like 30-minute movie that you could sit down and watch whenever it came on. And I thought it was good. And I thought some of the stories were good. Some of the episodes were good. I just thought the overall series was good itself. You know, I liked the first 2 episodes, the first face-off, because I liked how it was basically an origin story of how the Mighty Ducks became a team. I liked the episode Buzz Blitzman Mighty Duck. Because, like Huey Two-More, Logan said, it was one of those rare episodes that focused on Mallory. I mean, Mallory, of all people, right? And I think because of this episode and some other episodes out there, if not the entire series, she became a favorite of mine, his, and just about any other fan out there. And that's no lie. I mean, they had some great series. Don't get me wrong about that. Don't get me wrong about that. I mean, they had some great series. I mean, take a look at the episode A Traitor Among Us. You basically get the idea. You basically get sort of a bone thrown your way that here you have 2 potential candidates, male candidates, for an attractive female duck, right? Okay, well, the attractive female duck in the show, Lucretia decoy, is, just, a traitor, right? She's a spy for Dragonis. You get the idea. If you've seen it, if you haven't seen it, watch it, you'll see what I mean. If you have seen it, you know what I'm talking about. But this episode also showed maybe a little bit of a jealous side by Mallory. Maybe, maybe not. But also a little bit of a playful side by Mallory towards the end. Because what does she do? What does she do? She basically dresses up like she's never dressed up before. She basically pulls that femme fatale look out of nowhere at the end. And asks Duke, or as both Duke and Nosedive, if they want to join her for a mall crawl. And it's like, holy moly. It's like, damn, where'd this come from, right? It kind of shows you it kind of throws you a bone. The writers kind of threw you a bone, like, okay, I want to show you that there is a possibility. And it's like what Chris Moore, the rowdy reviewer, said in this review he did with Two More. It's like he said, it basically, when the series ended with the finale, it basically set up in fans' minds possibilities. And to me, I don't know why people have a problem with this show when it's the kind of show, like let's say, he even used Buffy, the Buffy Vampire series show, as a good example. It basically set up the fact that, it set up the fact with its finale that you, the fan, could imagine in your mind what would happen next. What would happen if, what happens next? What would happen next after they win the Stanley Cup? Or what happens after this episode? It makes you want to come up with stories on your own. Even Toonmore said that they should go follow the direction of other Disney afternoon shows in recent years that got revived in comic book form, like Rescue Rangers, DuckTales, Darkwing Duck, and even Gargoyles. That they should bring it back in comic book form. And you know what? I totally agree with him. I think they should bring the show back in comic book form. And if anything, possibly down the line, maybe even do a live-action CGI hybrid like they're doing with Rescue Rangers. These are just possibilities, but to me, a comic book revival could be the first step. And right now, if Disney basically owns Marvel, why not go in that direction? Why not do it? You know? It would be, a lot of fans would be happy to see that. I know I would. I know I would like to see it. But to give you an example of what I mean by the show allowing fans to be able to interpretate themselves what exactly could have happened after the show went off the air, like what other adventures could have been. I mentioned a traitor among us, right? And how you kind of had that jealousy side and everything. I'm going to tell you something that really is going to surprise you. One of the shipping pairings that came out of this series that I've seen the most of was Mallory and Nosedive. Yeah, I saw my share of Mallory Duke and Mallory Wild Wing and Tanya Wild Wing and Tanya Duke and who knows, maybe Tanya Nosedive, I don't know. But I mostly saw Mallory Nosedive. I saw stories being written about them being very close friends and becoming more, of events taking, just some great stories and artwork. And if you don't believe me, look at fanfiction.net. Look at DeviantArt, if you will. Look at some of the Mighty Duck animated series fan sites. You'll see what I'm talking about. And that, again, that's just an example of what they meant by the series finale opened the door, or for a lot of fans to kind of imagine, kind of think to themselves what could have been, what could be. Should the series have continued, what could have been, what might have been. And to me, not a lot of shows do that. But this was one of the shows that did. As a matter of fact, to tell you how much of a fan I am, last night I went to ioffer.com, and despite what you think of iOffer, they're basically to me like eBay, with the exception is you don't bid, you make an offer, that's it. I went to ioffer.com, and despite what you think about them, they're a good site to go to, especially if they're connected in some way with Amazon. And I bought, for $18.95, the complete series from Media Bailout. That's who they call it, Media Bailout. And hopefully it'll be here within the next few days. But I did that. So now I will have the complete Mighty Duck series. I hope. If anything goes wrong, I'll let them know. But the point I'm trying to make here is this. I understand people have problems with it, and they don't like it because they feel the premise and stuff and everything else that I've talked about that they nitpick about is ridiculous. And it's just, it's just trying to build off the momentum of Ninja Turtles and maybe even Gargoyles. And I understand, I respect that. But what I'm trying to explain to you is there was some good in it, and there is some good. So what people need to do is, if you are on the fence about it and you're leaning towards maybe accepting that it's not a good show and it's ridiculous because of the premise, go back and watch some episodes. Go back and watch the 44-minute pilot, the 2-part pilot. Go back and watch episodes like Buzz, Blitz, and Mighty Duck. Go back and watch Beat to the Future, To Catch a Thief, Traitor Among Us, and you will see exactly what I'm talking about of how good this show is. So, that's all I'm going to say, folks, on the Mighty Duck series. But again, what is people's problems with it besides what I've mentioned? What do you think people's problems are? Do you think it's what I've mentioned? And what do you think of Mighty Ducks the series? I think it's a good series. No doubt about it. Let me know what you guys think. Comment below, and I'll talk to you later. God bless. Take care.